What if I told you that the compass, paper, and even the world's first earthquake detector were all invented thousands of years ago in ancient China? A land of emperors and warriors, philosophers and poets, dynasties that rose and fell over thousands of years, and ideas that still shape the modern world. In this video, we're diving deep into one of the world's oldest and most fascinating civilizations, ancient China. We'll explore powerful dynasties, groundbreaking inventions, deep-rooted philosophies, and how this incredible civilization still influences our lives today. Whether you're a history buff or just curious to learn something new, get ready for an epic journey through time. This is Ancient China Explained. Let's begin. To truly understand ancient China, we have to begin with its land, a vast and diverse country shaped by powerful rivers, towering mountains, and wide plains. The two great lifelines of ancient China were the Yellow River, also known as the Huanghe, and the Yangtze River, or Changjiang. The Yellow River is often called the cradle of Chinese civilization, because it was along its fertile banks that China's earliest dynasties emerged. But while it gave life, it also brought destruction. With frequent flooding, it earned a darker name: China's Sorrow. To the south, the Yangtze River flowed strong and steady. It supported rice farming and connected towns through trade. These rivers weren't just water sources, they were the heartbeats of ancient life. Ancient China was shaped and protected by its natural borders. To the west, the massive Himalayas and the high Tibetan Plateau. To the north, the cold, harsh Gobi Desert. And in the south, thick jungles and rugged mountains created a natural shield. These natural features helped isolate China from the rest of the ancient world, allowing it to develop a unique and independent civilization. China's climate varied greatly, from cold northern winters to warm, humid summers in the south. This diversity shaped how people lived and what they grew. In the north, ancient farmers grew millet and wheat. In the warmer southern regions, they cultivated rice using clever irrigation systems and terrace farming techniques. Over time, small farming villages grew into permanent settlements. People built homes from mud and wood, domesticated animals, and stored grain. It was here, among these early communities, that Chinese culture began to take root. From these rivers, valleys, and fields, grew one of the most resilient and remarkable civilizations the world has ever seen. Next, the birth of Chinese civilization. The story of ancient China begins thousands of years ago, with a blend of myth, mystery, and monumental change. According to legend, the very first Chinese dynasty was the Zhou dynasty, around 2100 BCE. Its stories were passed down for generations, of wise kings, massive floods, and a heroic ruler named Yu the Great, who tamed the rivers. But here's the catch: we still don't know if the Zhou dynasty truly existed. There's no solid archaeological proof yet. Some historians see it as myth, others believe it was real, a lost dynasty buried beneath time. The first dynasty we know for sure existed was the Shang dynasty, around 1600 BCE. This is where Chinese history steps out of legend, and into the light of evidence. One of the Shang's most mysterious discoveries? Oracle bones. These were animal bones used in rituals to communicate with spirits and ancestors. Priests would carve questions into the bone, heat it, and read the cracks. These carvings became the earliest form of Chinese writing, the foundation of a language still in use today. The Shang were master metalworkers. They created bronze tools, weapons, and beautiful ritual vessels, blending utility with sacred symbolism. Their capital cities were planned, their society was organized, and their religious beliefs centered on ancestor worship and divine kingship. Eventually, the Shang were overthrown by the Zhou dynasty, who ruled longer than any other dynasty in Chinese history, from around 1046 to 256 BCE. The Zhou introduced a powerful idea, the mandate of heaven. It said that emperors were chosen by the heavens, but if they ruled poorly, they could be overthrown. This concept shaped Chinese politics for over 2,000 years. It was like a divine performance review: rule well or lose the throne. But the Zhou didn't rule everything directly. They gave power to local lords in a feudal system. These nobles ruled small states in the king's name, but over time, they grew stronger and more independent. This system eventually broke down, leading to chaos, and opening the door for China's next great transformation. From mysterious origins and magical bones to divine authority and feudal lands, China's ancient roots grew deep and fast. Up next, the rise of China's first emperor and the unification of an empire. From feuding states and fractured kingdoms, rose a single ruler with one mission: to unite all under heaven. This was the birth of China's imperial age. In 221 BCE, a powerful warlord named Yingzheng declared himself Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. His dynasty, though short-lived, changed history forever. For centuries, the land had been divided by war. Qin Shi Huang ended it all, conquering rival states, centralizing power, and standardizing everything: currency, writing, measurements, even axle lengths on carts. But his rule came at a cost. He was a ruthless legalist, believing that strict laws and harsh punishments were the only path to peace. To protect his empire from nomadic invaders in the north, he began linking older regional walls together, laying the foundations for what would become the Great Wall of China. It wasn't the wall we know today, but it was massive, grueling, and deadly work. Thousands of laborers, many of them prisoners, died during construction. Obsessed with immortality, Qin Shi Huang built a massive tomb, guarded by over 8,000 life-size clay soldiers, each with unique faces, armor, and weapons. This terracotta army, buried underground for over 2,000 years, is one of the most mind-blowing archaeological finds ever. After Qin Shi Huang's death, his dynasty collapsed in chaos. But from the ashes rose the Han Dynasty, founded in 206 BCE by a peasant rebel named Liu Bang, who became Emperor Gaozu. The Han would rule for over 400 years, ushering in what many call China's Golden Age. Under the Han, China bloomed. This was a time of new inventions: paper, wheelbarrows, even early seismographs to detect earthquakes. Trade, technology, and education flourished. The empire expanded its borders, and its ambitions. Perhaps their greatest legacy? The creation of the Silk Road, a vast network of trade routes connecting China to the West. It wasn't just silk. Ideas, religions, art, and technologies flowed across continents. China became a global power before global was even a word. While the Qin ruled with fear, the Han ruled with wisdom. They adopted Confucianism as the official ideology, emphasizing morality, respect, education, and family values. It wasn't just a belief system, it became the foundation of Chinese culture for generations to come. The Qin unified China. The Han refined it. One built it with iron and fear, the other shaped it with philosophy and trade. Together they laid the groundwork for the Chinese civilization we still see echoes of today. Next, ancient Chinese philosophy: Confucianism, Daoism, and Legalism. What makes a civilization truly great? It's not just its walls, weapons, or wealth, but its wisdom. In ancient China, three powerful philosophies shaped not only daily life but the soul of an entire civilization. First, Confucianism, the teachings of a humble scholar named Confucius, known in the West as Confucius. Born in the 6th century BCE during a time of chaos, Confucius dreamed of harmony through ethics, education, and respect. He believed that a good society starts with a good family, where children honor their parents and rulers lead with virtue. If a ruler is just, how can the people be anything but loyal? Confucius. Confucianism became the moral compass of China, especially under the Han Dynasty, influencing schools, laws, and even exams for government jobs. Next is Daoism, also called Taoism. a philosophy of flow, freedom, and balance with the universe. Founded by the mysterious sage Laozi, Daoism teaches that the best way to live is to follow the Tao, or the way. It's about embracing the natural world, letting go of control, and finding peace in simplicity. The more you force, the more you fail. But if you let go, the way will guide you. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Laozi. Daoism gave birth to traditional Chinese medicine, feng shui, and inspired art, poetry, and martial arts for centuries. In contrast to Confucian harmony and Taoist flow, legalism preached a far stricter path. It held that humans are naturally selfish, and only strong laws and harsh punishments can maintain order. This belief shaped the Qin dynasty under Qin Shi Huang, where rule was absolute, obedience was non-negotiable, and disobedience was deadly. The ruler alone possesses power. The people must obey. Han Feizi, legalist philosopher. While legalism helped build a united China, its ruthless methods also led to fear and rebellion, and ultimately collapse. Beyond philosophy, ancient China had a deep spiritual life, rooted in ancestor worship and reverence for the unseen. They believed that ancestors, even in the afterlife, still guided and protected their descendants. So honoring them through rituals, offerings, and family altars was part of daily life. Spirits of nature, gods of rivers, mountains, and the heavens were also worshipped, blending seamlessly with philosophical beliefs. This mix of ritual, respect, and relationship with nature and the past made spirituality in ancient China both personal and profound. Whether through the wisdom of Confucius, the flow of the Tao, or the law of legalism, ancient China sought one thing: balance between humanity and the heavens. Up next, we'll step into the homes of ancient Chinese people and discover what daily life was really like. Let's step away from palaces and philosophies and walk into the real lives of ancient China's people. What did they eat? What did they wear? How did they live, laugh, and love in the everyday moments of history? Ancient China was a deeply structured society, built like a pyramid, with the emperor at the very top, believed to rule by the divine mandate of heaven. Below him were the scholar officials, chosen through civil service exams, who helped run the empire with Confucian ideals. Then came the peasants, the backbone of the empire. Though poor, they were respected for their role in feeding the nation. Beneath them were artisans and craftsmen, followed by merchants, oddly looked down upon despite their wealth because they profited off others' labor. At the very bottom, slaves and criminals, often prisoners of war or people in debt. What people wore depended on their class. The rich dressed in silk robes dyed in vibrant colors, while peasants wore hemp or cotton tunics, simple but practical. Food was mostly vegetarian for commoners: rice, millet, vegetables, and tofu. Meat was a luxury, often reserved for festivals or the wealthy. In homes, the family structure was everything. Households were multi-generational. Grandparents, parents, and children all lived under one roof, with strict respect shown to elders. Fathers were the head of the family, and sons were expected to care for parents in old age. Honor and duty shaped the household just as much as walls and roofs. Despite the hardships of daily life, ancient China was filled with joy, rhythm, and color, especially during festivals. One of the biggest was the Lunar New Year, where families cleaned their homes to sweep away bad luck, exchanged red envelopes, and lit fireworks to scare off evil spirits. The Mid-Autumn Festival was a time for mooncakes, poetry, and family gatherings under the full moon. Other traditions included ancestor worship ceremonies, seasonal harvest festivals, and local temple fairs, filled with storytelling, puppet shows, and music. In ancient China, the role of women was largely domestic. Girls were taught from a young age to manage the home, weave cloth, and care for the family. Arranged marriages were common, and once married, a woman was expected to serve not only her husband, but also his parents. That said, powerful exceptions did exist. Some royal women and scholars broke barriers and left their mark on history. Children were cherished, especially sons who carried on the family name. Education was important, especially for boys who might one day take the imperial exams. Play was simple but joyful. Games with kites, spinning tops, and songs passed down through generations. Life in ancient China was a blend of hardship and harmony, shaped by duty bound by family and colored by celebration. But beyond daily routines and traditions, ancient China gifted the world some of the greatest inventions in human history. Let's dive into the groundbreaking ideas that changed the world forever. When we think of innovation, we often picture the modern world. But what if I told you that many of today's most important discoveries actually began thousands of years ago, in ancient China, from paper to medicine, from timekeeping to navigation? Let's explore some of the world-changing inventions that originated from this brilliant civilization. Before paper, the Chinese wrote on bamboo slips and silk, which were either too heavy or too expensive. But in 105 CE, during the Han Dynasty, a court official named Kai Lun changed history. He created the world's first true paper using mulberry bark, hemp, rags, and fish nets, cheap, lightweight, and easy to produce. It transformed how people wrote, communicated, and eventually, how we preserve knowledge. Way before sailors used it at sea, the first compass was used in China as early as the 2nd century BCE, not for navigation, but for spiritual alignment in feng shui. It used lodestone, a naturally magnetized mineral, floating in water to point south. Centuries later, this invention guided travelers across oceans and helped shape the age of exploration. In 132 CE, an inventor named Zhang built one of the world's first seismographs, a device to detect earthquakes. This beautifully crafted bronze vessel had 8 dragon heads, each holding a metal ball. When an earthquake struck, the ball would fall, indicating the direction of the tremor. It was incredibly accurate, and created over 1,800 years before modern seismology. Simple but powerful, the wheelbarrow was invented during the Han Dynasty and made transporting heavy goods much easier. It allowed a single person to carry the load of several, saving time, labor, and backaches for farmers and builders alike. Silk was one of China's best-kept secrets, and for good reason. Discovered as early as 3000 BCE, this shimmering fabric became a symbol of luxury. Silkworms were carefully cultivated, and the spinning process was passed down for generations. The rest of the world had no idea how it was made. Eventually, silk would become the centerpiece of the Silk Road, connecting China to the world. The Chinese were masters of iron casting, producing plows, tools, and weapons with impressive precision as early as the 5th century BCE. And to measure time, they built water clocks, using the steady drip of water to track hours with astonishing accuracy. These devices were often used in imperial courts and astronomical observatories. Long before modern medicine, the Chinese practiced acupuncture, a technique based on balancing the body's energy, or qi, by stimulating key points. Alongside it, herbal medicine used natural ingredients like ginseng, ginger, and goji berries to treat illness and promote wellness. These practices are still used today, a living link to thousands of years of health wisdom. Chinese astronomers accurately tracked eclipses, mapped constellations, and even recorded Halley's Comet centuries before Western documentation. They also developed early math systems, using negative numbers, decimal fractions, and even solving quadratic equations long before the rest of the world caught up. From everyday tools to cosmic discoveries, ancient China wasn't just surviving, it was innovating on a global scale. But alongside these inventions came beauty and creativity, found in their art, music, and stunning architecture. Let's now explore the cultural soul of ancient China. Beyond the emperors, battles, and inventions, ancient China shined with a deep love for art, beauty, and expression. This was a civilization where creativity wasn't just admired, it was sacred. Let's journey into the heart of ancient Chinese art, culture, and architecture, where even a brushstroke could tell a story. In ancient China, calligraphy was more than writing. It was a form of art. Using an ink brush and delicate paper, scholars expressed elegance and emotion in every character. It was believed that your handwriting reflected your soul. Next came painting, often done in black ink showing landscapes, animals, and scenes of harmony between humans and nature. These paintings weren't just visual, they were philosophical reflections. And of course, there was poetry, a treasured art. Poets like Li Bai and Du Fu captured love, nature, sorrow, and beauty in just a few lines, leaving a legacy still studied today. Jade was called the Stone of Heaven, prized for its purity, durability, and spiritual energy. It was carved into ornaments, symbols, and burial items believed to protect in the afterlife. Bronze, on the other hand, was used to create ritual vessels, bells, mirrors, and weapons. During the Shang and Zhou dynasties, intricate bronze work showed the power of kings and the artistry of the people. These weren't just materials, they were status, beauty, and belief molded into form. Ancient Chinese palaces were grand, with wooden beams, tiled roofs, and perfectly symmetrical layouts based on feng shui. The most famous is the Forbidden City in Beijing, built centuries later, but based on earlier dynastic architectural traditions. Then there are the elegant pagodas, tall, multi-tiered towers originally built to house sacred Buddhist relics. Over time, they became a symbol of peace, harmony, and Chinese spirituality. Ancient Chinese music was believed to align the soul with the universe. It wasn't just entertainment, it was a path to inner harmony and cosmic balance. Instruments like the guqin, a 7-stringed zither, were played by scholars. The pipa, a pear-shaped lute, told dramatic stories through its melodies. Wind instruments like the xiao and the sheng added a gentle breath-like quality to the music, while bronze bells, known as bianzhong, echoed through royal ceremonies. Each note, each tone was a dialogue between nature, heaven, and the human heart. From the whisper of a bamboo flute to the strength of a jade carving, the art and culture of ancient China continues to inspire the world. But how did this great civilization pass on its legacy? Through stories, wisdom, and traditions passed down through generations. For centuries, ancient China wasn't just a land of emperors and inventions, it was a gateway of exchange, a powerhouse of ideas, goods, and innovations that reached far beyond its borders. At the heart of this global connection was one legendary route: the Silk Road. Silk Road wasn't a single road, but a vast network of overland and maritime trade routes stretching from China to Central Asia, India, Persia, and even the Roman Empire. It all began during the Han Dynasty, around the 2nd century BCE, when Chinese silk first caught the attention of distant empires. Merchants traveled by camel caravan across deserts, over mountains, and through cities like Samarkand, Baghdad, and Constantinople. China's finest exports, silk, porcelain, tea, jade, and paper, were traded for glassware, silver, horses, and exotic spices from the West. But more than goods, the Silk Road was a highway of ideas and culture. The Silk Road sparked a cultural revolution. Alongside goods came religion, language, science, and philosophy. Buddhism, born in India, journeyed east into China, forever shaping Chinese spirituality and art. From Persia came advanced mathematics and astronomy, enriching Chinese studies. And from China, inventions like paper and the compass eventually made their way to Europe, changing the course of human history. Even Roman coins have been found in Chinese territory, proof of this far-reaching connection. The legacy of ancient China lives on today, in the fabrics we wear, the food we enjoy, the values we hold, and the technologies we depend on. From India to the Middle East, to Rome and eventually the modern West, China's innovations and wisdom helped shape the world. And even now, centuries later, its echoes are still felt in global trade, diplomacy, and culture. For every great rise in history, there comes a fall. Ancient China was no exception. Despite centuries of innovation, strength, and unity, many Chinese dynasties met their end through eerily familiar patterns, ones that still repeat in today's world. Most Chinese dynasties followed what historians call the dynastic cycle, a pattern where a dynasty rises with strong leadership, reaches a golden age, and eventually falls into corruption and chaos. Here's how it typically unfolded. A powerful leader unites the people and establishes order. Over time, rulers grow distant and greedy, and corruption spreads. Taxes rise, the people suffer, and trust in the dynasty fades. Natural disasters or invasions strike, seen as a sign the dynasty has lost the mandate of heaven. Rebellions break out, a new power emerges, and the cycle begins again. From the Zhou dynasty's fragmented feudal lords to the fall of the Han due to internal corruption and court rivalries, these patterns echo across history. Each dynasty faced a unique mix of disasters. The Qin dynasty crumbled after just 15 years due to brutal rule and uprisings. The Han dynasty fell under pressure from powerful warlords and rebellious peasants. The Tang and Song dynasties suffered from border attacks, economic collapse, and natural catastrophes, and later the Ming dynasty fell to internal decay and the Manchu invasion, giving rise to the Qing. In ancient Chinese belief, natural disasters, like floods or famines, weren't just bad luck. They were seen as signs that heaven no longer supported the ruling dynasty. So, what lessons can we learn today? What makes ancient Chinese history so powerful is not just the rise and fall, but, the lessons hidden within. Here's what we can take away today. Leadership must serve the people. When rulers ignore suffering, collapse follows. Corruption destroys from within. No empire, ancient or modern, survives when greed replaces justice. Adaptability is key. Dynasties that embraced innovation lasted longer. Those that resisted change, well, they fell. Philosophy matters. Confucian ethics and Daoist balance taught the importance of wisdom, harmony, and humility in leadership. And perhaps most importantly, every fall made way for a new beginning. Every end brought rebirth. The story of ancient China is not just about kings and conquests. It's about the human journey, the cost of power, and the eternal cycle of rise, fall, and renewal. And through these ancient echoes we find wisdom that still guides us, if we choose to listen. Empires may fall, dynasties may fade, but the legacy of ancient China continues to shape our world in ways we often take for granted. From the moment the first emperor unified China to the ideas of balance and harmony etched in scrolls thousands of years ago, ancient China left a blueprint for civilization. Its impact reaches far beyond its borders, influencing global culture, science, trade, and governance. Philosophies like Confucianism, they continue to influence education systems, family values, and even politics across East Asia. The Taoist ideas of harmony with nature echo in today's environmental thinking, while legalist concepts still exist in strict bureaucratic and legal systems around the world. The centralized government model first developed under the Qin and Han dynasties, it really laid the groundwork for modern bureaucracy, a system that's still seen in today's administrative structures. Civil service exams introduced over 1,000 years ago emphasized merit over birthright, an idea that now underpins many modern democratic institutions. Ancient Chinese inventors, honestly, they gifted the world with tools that became essential building blocks of modern society. Paper, revolutionizing communication. The compass, guiding global exploration. Seismographs, giving birth to earthquake science. Acupuncture and herbal medicine, still used today around the world. Even astronomy, cartography, iron smelting, and hydraulic engineering were highly advanced, long before similar discoveries appeared in other parts of the world. The cultural heartbeat of ancient China lives on in festivals, art, literature, and daily rituals. Whether it's the elegance of calligraphy, the philosophy behind martial arts, or the quiet depth of poetry and music, China's ancient soul still pulses in its modern identity. And far beyond Asia, you'll find Chinese influence in global cuisines, fashion, architecture, and even spiritual practices. So, we explored how geography gave birth to civilization. We saw how dynasties rose and fell. We looked at how belief shaped lives, and how ideas from thousands of years ago still power our world today. From the oracle bones of the Shang to the innovation of the Han, from Confucian wisdom to the Silk Road's global impact, ancient China left behind more than just history. It left behind a legacy. Now it's your turn. I'd love to hear from you. Which dynasty or invention from ancient China surprised you the most, and why? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be reading and replying. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the world's oldest and most influential civilizations, tap that like button to show your support. Subscribe so you don't miss future historical journeys, and share this video with anyone who loves ancient history, culture, or learning something new every day. Let's keep history alive, together. Thanks so much for watching. This is Epic World History Channel. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and as always, keep exploring.